Alright, what's happening everybody? I'm your man Akeem and welcome to today's vlog. I'm here to recap week 4 of the college football season. Another outstanding week, starting with the game of the week. Oklahoma, number 17 ranked in the nation, facing number 8 Texas A&M, in which Oklahoma prevailed 30-29. It was a close victory and a great game. I was a little bit shocked in this game though. I went with Texas A&M to win this game because of their defense, and their defense held Oklahoma pretty well until the second half, in which Oklahoma State rallied back 21 unanswered points in the third quarter and pulled off with a last field goal at the end of the game. And it was still a great matchup, and I was a little bit surprised. But Brandon Weeden, the quarterback for Oklahoma State, had 438 yards passing. He had an outstanding game, leading the Cowboys to a good victory. My upset pick of the week, I went with Vanderbilt over number 12 South Carolina, but South Carolina ended up winning 21-3 due to their great defensive effort, holding the Commodores to just 3 points and keeping this team undefeated. They're one of the leading teams of the SEC East, and they might make it to the SEC championship. Number 1 Oklahoma hosted Missouri, and it was a scare a little bit for Oklahoma. Missouri put up a good fight, but Oklahoma ended up pulling a 38-28 point victory. It was a good game. Ryan Broyles ended up leading the way in that second half, rallying the Sooners and keep them ahead for the rest of the game. It was a good victory. And number 10 Oregon, they ended up going to Arizona to face Nick Foley and the Wildcats, in which running back LaMichael James broke a school record rushing for 288 yards. He's a good running back, and he's actually boosting his way back up in the awards at the end of the season. The Doak Walker Award given to the nation's best running back, and he might actually make a good run for it at the end of the season. But we will see. But he has to keep performing the way he has been going. North Carolina State went to Cincinnati. They ended up getting mollywopped 44-14. Mike Glennon, he had a pretty good game, 300 yards passing, but he had no running attack to complement his passing skills, and that was the factor of that game. NC State really needs a running game in order to get more victories in this season. They have a tough schedule ahead of them, but a good win for the Bearcats. Georgia Tech pulling off a 28-25 win over North Carolina due to the efforts from their quarterback Washington throwing and running the football. He had a good game. Now, one of the biggest upsets of the week and the upset pick game of the week was number 21 Clemson beating Florida State 35-30. Florida State was the number 11th ranked team in the nation, and Clemson, they're pretty much surprising everybody across the nation. They ended up beating Auburn last week and ended up beating Florida State Seminoles this week, and they had a great game. 35 points, Taj Boyd leading the way, and they have good offense, especially with Sammy Watkins, their star freshman. He's having a great season thus far, and I think the ACC need to watch out for Clemson. They've been beating up good teams, and they might actually make it to that ACC championship, beating a good Florida team. Yes, Florida played without E.J. Manuel, but backup quarterback Clint Trissett, he had a good game. He ended up passing for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. So the fact of E.J. Manuel not being in that game wasn't pretty much much of a factor. Clemson just had a great explosive offense and keeping up with the Florida State Seminoles, and they did deserve this victory. Now, I had Maryland as my sleeper of the ACC conference, but it looks like Clemson is that sleeper, and they might make it to that conference championship. And speaking of Maryland, they got crushed by Temple, big time. Running back Bernard Pierce of Temple had 149 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns. That ground attack of Temple just overwhelmed Maryland 38-7. Big victory. They just crushed the Terps. Terps couldn't do anything. After that victory against the Miami Hurricanes in week 1, Maryland just couldn't get everything together. They ended up losing to West Virginia last week and then losing to Temple this week. Temple's is a good team, but everybody expected more from Maryland, and Maryland just couldn't get anything together, especially from that running attack from Temple. They just couldn't handle that ground game, and they really need to improve in that because they have a couple great games in ACC in the upcoming future of this season. Now, they did get a good win over Miami. They're undefeated in the ACC conference just one game, but they really need to get their act together, and I think with this loss, it kind of downed the Terps for this season, but we'll see. A couple of other big victories, 28-7 victory for the Michigan Wolverines over the San Diego Aztecs. Washington beat California 31 to 23. I picked California for that game, but Washington ended up prevailing. It was a good victory for them. And another big game, number 3 Alabama hosting the Arkansas Razorbacks. Razorbacks are 14th ranked team in the nation, and they're led by quarterback Tyler Wilson. Now they couldn't really get a good running game for this one, and Alabama pulled off a great victory because of the efforts of Trent Richardson. He had over 100 yards rushing, plus 85 yards receiving, totaling over 200 yards of total offense. He's the bulk of that offense. He was carrying the bulk of the carries of the game. He was actually leading this team to a good victory. And number 3 Alabama might actually bump up to number 2. Some people think they should be number 2 and LSU number 1, but I'm still sticking with Oklahoma at number 1 and LSU number 2. I think LSU defense, they deserved some recognition. They had a big win over West Virginia as well Saturday, 47 to 21, due to another defensive effort, especially from cornerback Tyrann Mathieu, who had 1 interception, a fumble recovery, and a forced fumble. He was the key to that defense, and then they just ended up crushing the Mountaineers. Geno Smith couldn't get anything together in that second half, so LSU deserved a good victory. So I believe that because of that matchup, LSU should be number 2, Alabama should be number 3, and number 1 should still be Oklahoma. Even though they did have a scare against the Missouri Tigers, they still pulled off the victory, and I think they're on their way to that national championship. But we will see later on in the season. Now, the next time I'm gonna catch you guys is on Wednesday to give you my Week 5 predictions and key matchups. From Sports News Insider, thank you for watching today's vlog. I'm your man, Akeem McCall. Be easy.